We're working on a lesson on doing sectional pots, throwing portions and then piecing them together to make a large clay piece. And so that's what we're working on. And in order to be able to demonstrate throwing sections and assembling sections several times, we decided to make a floor lamp. So the first lessons were the bottom half of the floor lamp, and now we're going to start working on the top half of the floor lamp. All in all, it's going to be about 6 feet tall, and it's going to be beautiful. My colleague, fellow artist, is doing the design work on the piece, and she's already done the design work on the bottom half of the piece also. So all we have to do is fire that, and we'll be in good shape there. I started out, I'm making a tall, narrow, cylindrical type form. So I centered my clay tall and narrow. People are always asking how much clay. Well, I think that's probably 15 pounds. It might be a little more, but I think it's 15 pounds. We'll call it that. So I centered it up, and I'm centering my clay tall and narrow because I'm throwing something tall and narrow. And I'm sinking the hole down. And when I sink the hole, I'm going all the way through to the wheel head or the bat, in this case a bat. And you got to keep that hole very straight. So I'm really concentrating as I'm going down. And, you know, it's really twisting my fingers up like that as I'm going down. That's how I'm standing right in the middle. Okay, right there, I'm touching the back. So I'm all the way down, nice straight hole. So now I've got to spread the clay out on the bottom of the bat. I'm going to lift up a little bit because I got the hole, and I want that hole because a cord has to go through a floor lamp from the top to the bottom. So, got a hole in there. Now I'm spreading the bottom out. This is one of the few times I'm working on the side of the wheel that's turning into me. I'm letting my clay get a little bit drier so there's more friction. And that way, a little bit of pressure, and I can move a lot of clay. So, I'm spreading the bottom. And I'm really pushing back with my left hand to keep the clay from moving out. And now I'm just going to go ahead and pull my fingers up the pot, and I'm actually making a pull right now. And I'm straightening the wall out. So it's the same thickness all the way up. Just like that. And it's all still centered up really good. The walls are the same thickness all the way around. Now, I'm going to go ahead and spread that a little bit more. And to do it this time, I'm going to curl my knuckle over so I got a little more pressure I can put on it. I'm almost, in fact I really am, pulling from the inside of the pot. So you'll see it get taller. But right now I'm just keeping it straight and thinning the walls out. And I want to keep this cylinder narrow. Okay. This is a real good slip coming off here, so I'm kind of making a storage place. So later on, when I need some real good slip, that's where it's going to be. Okay, now I'm going to move to the right hand side of the wheel, and I'm going to start pulling the walls up thinner. So, got to put a lot of pressure on, and really hook some clay, and bring it up steady. See if it gets any taller. When I get up here, pull my thumb out, bring my hand out, so I've got better control, and pull it the rest of the way. Now you can see right there, kind of in the middle, I got a little too thin already. I shouldn't have done that. Sometimes I get a little over exuberant. Right here, I pull it a little bit thin. So I'm constantly keeping this colored in because I want to throw something tall. I want to slow it down a little. This clay was pretty soft when I started. So it's even softer now. So I got to be kind of careful.
So when you get a little thin, the best thing to do is to slow down the wheel, color it in, make it straight.
When you color it in, it's going to thicken up. So I moved a little clay into that thin area, and where it's a little thicker here, I'm going to go ahead and thin it so that it doesn't have an out of balance issue going with it from the out of balance weight of the clay. All right. Now it's getting high enough that I'm probably going to go ahead and stand up the pull. Now, you got to remember, when you stand up the pull, you got to move in and get right on top of the clay. We want our shoulder and our arm going right straight down here. We want our shoulders to be square. We're going to move in, bend our knees, and lock our knees right up here on the splash pan. Then I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to pull like this. Curl my finger on the outside. My inside will be placed so it'll be just about like that. And I'll hook some clay and come straight up. Now, when I start my pull, my knees are going to be bent. I'm going to start my pull, and then I'm going to leave my arms right where they are, and I'm going to stand up. Just like this, until I get clear up to here. Then I'm going to use my arms to finish the pull. So you can watch my knees. I'm bent here, locked on the wheel, my shoulders right straight down. I'm hooking some clay, and I'm straightening my knees up. My arms are still in the same place they started, at the bottom of the pull. My knees are straight here. Now I'm going to use my arms, pull the rest of the way, lock my thumb on the outside, finish the pull. So that's how you get something from this tall to that tall. You can see by my throw rings that they're deep. Throw rings on the inside are just as deep. So you can imagine the pressure that I do put on. So I don't have to pull it too many times. Clay is pretty soft already. Now I'm going to collar it in to keep it narrow and straight. That's going to make the walls a little bit thicker. Now, if you get this far along in a pot, and it's nice and even here, and it's not going high and low or thick and thin, it tells you you've got pretty good control of the clay. All right, so it's pretty good so far. I'm going to try to give it another pull. See where it goes. Bend at the knees. Arm all the way down. It's a lot higher on my arm now. Put some pressure on. Stand up with my knees. And come right on at the pot. Even if it starts to wobble down below, don't stop. Come right on up. Now we're starting to get somewhere on it. Okay. I'm going to start about here in the middle, where it's just a little bit wobbly. Okay, still even on top. It's not spreading out on me. I'm keeping the base nice and narrow. So far, so good. Okay, I need to figure out just how thick everything is. This form is going to bulge out and come back into a bottle type form. Okay, so I've got some thickness down here, getting thin up here. Still a little thick up here, but I'll use that later. So I'm going to go ahead and start to form the piece. I want to leave it a little thick down here. For one reason, my clay was real soft when I started. But for another reason is to give strength down here to hold up everything that's going to happen up above. Everything up here is going to be much thinner. This down here is going to be trimmed. Okay. So I'm going to start pulling and forming at the same time. And I'm going to try to get my elbow down there while I'm sitting down here. So, I'm bulging out here, but I got to keep the top narrow. And it needs to be wide enough that I can get my arm in. I'm going to pull out some of this thickness here. And I got a bump right there where there's a stiff piece of clay. See it right there. Don't know how they got in there, but somewhere in the wedging process. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. I don't want to deal with that. And I've got this tall enough. Okay, I'm going to go down and come back up with another pull. This time I gotta be careful I'm not making a shoulder here. I want this to go wider, but I don't want to create a shoulder. I want it to have a gentle curve out. About there. Okay. Usually I would get up 10 feet away to look at this form, but I can see that doing what I want here, I need to start here and finish rounding this off just a little bit more. But I don't want to go out too much. And I want to do it up above here, bulge it out. Back down in here. I think that's it. Yeah. So it's that thick. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick, starting about here. It's a little thicker there. That'll be trimmed off. And we'll trim a little foot in here where we're going to join pieces together. So now I've got to finish the neck of the piece. And so that's a little bit tricky. Got to get some water out of the inside, however. And when you're doing these kinds of things, you want to have your wheel turning. Don't do it when your wheel's not turning. I got to go all the way to the bottom without knocking it out around with my arm. And I got to get this slip out of the inside, water out of the inside. All right, that's pretty good. So I'm going to try not to get much water back in the inside. I'm going to start right in here and start shaping this form or forming this piece for a long neck. And when you're doing something like this, you got to be sure that you're collaring it in and up. You can't put any downward pressure on it. Every time you collar it in, it gets thicker. So I'm going to come clear down here as far as I can reach with my fingers on the inside. I'm going to do a finger pull and thin this top part for the neck. There's that bump. I didn't get all of it. Okay, back down here. Very gently guiding it in and collaring it up. Pressure in and up. I'm going to come back in, give it another pull. Each time I pull, starts a little bit higher on the neck. Okay, starting here. Going in and up. And this time I'm going to go all the way to the top. And I'm going to push the top in quite a ways. It's clear out here, now it's in there. Now I'm doing finger pulls up and in. Starting right here. It's thin, thin, thin right here. So, starting here, I'm going up and in. You can see it's just a little bit wobbly right here. That's where it's pretty thin. I'm going to see if I can adjust it just a little bit now. But later on, after I've thrown the piece, I'll get a dryer out, blow dryer, and I'll stiffen it, and I'll form it just a little bit rounder. But here I'm coming in, making the neck. The pressure I'm putting up here will tend to throw this off here if we're not careful. So, gotta be real careful with that. All the pressure has to go up and in, and right here, up and in. At this point, I would advise you to move 10 or 15 feet away from the piece so you can really see the whole form. Because you can see it much better from there than you can here. I mean, I've thrown a lot of pots, so I know what I'm looking at, but that's what I would advise you to do. So I'm going to come back in here and see if I can just take some of the wobble out. Maybe increase the length of the neck just a little bit. Okay, fairly successful. Now, I'm going to do a few finger pulls, do a little bit of play with the neck a little bit to go along with the form we've already made. And I will be adding a piece about this tall probably to the neck, and that's where the light fixture will come out. And it'll get it about the height that we want. We're going to want it about 6 foot tall. So, little trim here. Nice little finger pull. Right here. Now I'm going to come back down and do a little this action. And this is going to repeat part of the form of the rest of the lamp. It has that type of form repeated throughout, from the top to the bottom. We'll do another one up here. And I'm going to flare this one out because I want a nice little wide place here to attach the next piece that's going to go on. And so I want a good place there to attach it. And I like this form I just put in. Just going to tweak it just a little bit. Okay. So this piece is going to have another part that will go on here. And after it's trimmed down here, it's going to have a part about that tall that goes underneath this. And when I get those together, attached to the other piece, it should be about 6 foot tall. And we're figuring that's about where the light bulb should be. About 6 foot with a match it. And I think this form's going to work just fine. I'm looking at the bottom form over there, and I'll have Evie go over and get a picture of it, or we'll put a picture in right here, and you'll see what the bottom half of the piece looks like. The only thing the bottom half doesn't have right now is an upside down bowl, which we'll attach later. That will be the very base of the piece. And it'll be about as wide probably as this bat. So this is going to be the middle part of the top half of the floor lamp. And hey, this has been fun to make. Just like you, when you sit down on the wheel, I have high hopes. And I know you do too. I have high hopes that I'm going to make something really cool, that I'm going to make what I want, and that I'm going to have some fun doing it. And I tell you what, woo! I feel good, and I knew that I would.